Would you believe the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders just received a 400% pay increase? It's true. After years of earning wages that hovered near minimum levels, one of the most iconic squads in professional sports has finally secured a major financial upgrade. But this transformation didn't happen quietly or by accident. It came after growing public scrutiny and a powerful Netflix documentary that exposed just how underpaid these performers really were. The Dallas Cowboys aren't just known as America's team. They are the most valuable sports franchise in the world, with an estimated worth of $12.8 billion in 2025. Their brand is global, their games dominate ratings, and their image is carefully crafted to represent excellence. But for years, one of the most visible parts of that image, the cheerleaders, were earning a fraction of what many believed they deserved. That reality came into sharp focus with the release of the Netflix series America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. The show pulled back the curtain on the polished performances and revealed the intense, often exhausting reality behind the scenes. Being a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader isn't just about dancing on the sidelines. It's a full-scale commitment. Members train relentlessly, often putting in 30 to 40 hours per week. Their schedules include physically demanding rehearsals, public appearances, charity work, media obligations, and of course, game days that can stretch up to 11 hours. Despite that workload, viewers were stunned to learn that many cheerleaders were earning roughly $15 per hour. On game days, they made about $500 per appearance. At their highest level, annual earnings reached around $75,000, but that figure often required years of experience and additional commitments. To put that into perspective, their earnings were comparable to roles within the same organization that demand far less visibility and physical performance. For example, an NFL water boy can earn around $53,000 annually. Mascots, depending on experience, were earning about $25,000 as recently as 2022. For a group that is constantly in the spotlight, featured in broadcasts, advertisements, and global marketing campaigns, the pay gap raised serious questions. Former cheerleader Kat Perrier even compared the compensation to working a standard hourly job, like fast food or substitute teaching. That comparison struck a chord with audiences. Because while the uniforms, performances, and reputation may suggest glamour, the financial reality told a very different story. The first season of the Netflix series sparked widespread conversation. Social media lit up with debates about fair pay, gender equity, and the value of performance-based roles in professional sports. Many viewers were shocked that such a prestigious position came with such modest compensation, but when the show returned for its second season in June 2024, fans were expecting change. Instead, what they saw was more of the same. The cheerleaders continue to train at an elite level, maintain strict physical standards, and represent one of the biggest brands in sports, yet their pay remained largely unchanged. This time, however, the tone shifted. Veteran cheerleaders began to speak more openly about their frustrations. They described their contracts as discouraging, even heartbreaking. Behind the scenes, internal discussions started to take shape. These weren't just casual complaints anymore, they were organized efforts to push for meaningful change. For years, one of the underlying expectations of the role was that the prestige itself was part of the compensation. Being a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader opens doors, media opportunities, brand partnerships, and personal recognition, but that argument started to lose its weight. Because while exposure can be valuable, it doesn't pay the bills. And as more attention was brought to the issue, it became harder to justify the gap between the team's massive valuation and the cheerleaders' relatively modest earnings. Even team executive Charlotte Jones acknowledged this dynamic during the series, stating, "They don't come here for the money." And for a long time, that was true. Many cheerleaders joined out of passion, pride, and the opportunity to be part of something iconic. But passion alone isn't sustainable, especially when the demands are this high. Then came the turning point. Ahead of the 2025 to 2026 NFL season, Cowboys executives made a decision that would fundamentally change the conversation. They approved a pay increase of over 400%. This wasn't a minor adjustment. It was a complete restructuring of how the cheerleaders were compensated. Veteran members began earning upwards of $75 per hour, a dramatic shift from previous rates. For many, this meant their annual income nearly quadrupled. Suddenly, the role started to reflect not just prestige, but proper financial recognition. This raise didn't just impact the cheerleaders financially, it changed the perception of their value. For the first time, their compensation began to align with the level of discipline, athleticism, and professionalism required. These are not casual performers. They are highly trained athletes who maintain strict fitness standards, execute complex choreography, and perform under intense pressure in front of massive audiences, and beyond the field. They serve as ambassadors for the brand, representing the organization at events, in media appearances, and in the community. Their role is both physical and symbolic. With the new pay structure, that contribution is finally being acknowledged in a more tangible way. The ripple effects of this decision could extend far beyond Dallas. Other NFL teams, and even organizations in different sports, are now facing increased scrutiny. If the most iconic cheerleading squad in the world was underpaid for years, what does that say about the rest of the industry? This moment could set a precedent. It raises important questions about how performance roles are valued, especially those traditionally associated with entertainment rather than competition. It also highlights the power of visibility. Without the Netflix series bringing these issues to light, it's possible this change might never have happened, or at least not this quickly. There's also a broader conversation here about labor, branding, and fairness. In today's media-driven world, visibility equals value. The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders are not just part of the game day experience, they are part of the brand's identity. They contribute to the overall spectacle that makes the NFL such a dominant force in entertainment, and yet, for years, their compensation didn't reflect that reality. Now, with this dramatic pay increase, the organization is sending a different message, one that acknowledges the importance of every role that contributes to its success. Of course, not everyone agrees on what fair looks like. Some argue that the raise is long overdue, that these performers should have been earning significantly more all along, especially given the franchise's massive valuation. Others believe that while the increase is substantial, it still doesn't fully match the level of exposure and revenue they help generate. And then there are those who feel that the prestige and opportunities associated with the role still play a meaningful part in its overall value. But regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear: the conversation has changed. The Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders are entering a new era, one where their work is not only celebrated but more fairly compensated. It's a shift that reflects changing attitudes about labor, visibility, and the true value of performance. And it's a reminder that even the most established traditions can evolve when enough attention is brought to the right issues. For the cheerleaders themselves, this isn't just about money. It's about recognition. It's about respect. And it's about ensuring that the effort they put in every single day is acknowledged in a meaningful way. So now the question becomes, is this enough? Should NFL cheerleaders have been earning at this level all along, given their role in shaping one of the biggest brands in sports? Or does this raise finally bring things into balance? One thing's certain: what was once hidden behind the glamour is now out in the open. And moving forward, it will be much harder for anyone to ignore.